because I haven't been outside and I haven't checked, so it seems to be all right. I know that I am not focused in the frame. I know that these are not visually appealing. I am still trying to figure out how to edit and how to use an accessible webcam and all those things. And it is about accessibility that I want to talk about today. Inaccessible websites and inaccessible apps are springing up lately or are becoming so. That is illegal and unacceptable. Inaccessible websites or apps are those that basically are built in a way that people with any kind of access limitation, whether it be visual or motor or any other kind, has a problem and cannot fill out the forms or cannot apply for jobs or cannot do certain things because of the inaccessibility of that website. Now, my experience is with visual, and I understand that the blind and visually impaired markets are very small. There are only approximately 1.3 visually impaired people in this country and less than 1 million people that are totally blind in this country, like myself. And although we are a small community, we actually help this country create, work, we produce, we are helpful to the economy. I certainly try to do my best in spite of my mental illness. And so it is very sad that people with visual impairments are left behind of a lot of websites and apps. So if you're a web designer or you are an app creator, you need to take people of all abilities into consideration, not just normal sighted way of doing things. And there are various websites that have actually done a consistently wonderful job at keeping the blind and visually impaired people included, and to keep them, to include them, integrate them, and keep them in mind. I can name a few. Apple, for instance. Apple has been very good at having voiceover built into the iOS products and Mac products. Any product that they have, there's voiceover included, and there's also accessibility to work with the connectivity, the Bluetooth connectivity that's necessary to work with Braille displays. I used to be a Windows user, and I am now an Apple user. And you did not know, if you own an iPhone or a Mac, whether it MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, or any other Apple product, you did not know that you have VoiceOver installed, because Apple made it in such a way that you don't have to buy additional software to get access. So there's no additional money involved. No, I'm not being sponsored by Apple. I'm just naming them as a list of companies that I'll be naming. Also because I've had experience with Apple, very good experience. And another good thing, last thing I'm going to say about Apple, is that when you go to the Apple store, they don't look at you like you have 3 heads when you show them a Braille display or you talk about voiceover. There is always someone available to help you. And of course, there is an accessibility line that is helpful with that. Amazon does a pretty good job. Sometimes there are some issues in the actual website, but there is an accessibility option that you can click on. And so they do a pretty good job on a pretty consistent basis. Although I do not use JAWS for Windows anymore, Windows, through trial and error, are trying to be as responsive to the needs of blind people as possible. Other apps and companies have been that way, and many of them, it's been through developmental phases, and I understand that. But there are some companies or apps that when they, for instance, when apps get updated, all of a sudden the accessibility for people with visual impairments is lost. I have, for instance, some issues with a company called MoneyLion. Their website is absolutely inaccessible. Their app is worse. Indeed.com, that I have used a lot for job searching, the last update has created a huge problem in accessibility. So now I cannot use the app to apply. I mean, I can search for jobs, but I can't use it. And who else? Oh, Hulu. I have to sing Hulu's praises though, because I just downloaded the Hulu app, and after quite a few months, they have actually revised their app so that it works with iOS products again in an accessible way, in a way that blind people can use it. I had to unsubscribe from everything because there was an accessibility issue. And you know, sometimes you address it, you know, you tell them about it, but they don't see the urgency. Yes, we know about the issue and it'll be looked at. Well, when will it be looked at? Oh, in the next few... No, I'm sorry. We are as equally important as any sighted person, as any person who has any access issue. So, and there are some federal government agencies that have inaccessible websites. And when you ask them why this is, they tell you sometimes, oh, well, we don't have to, because we're not bound by whatever laws. You know what? You don't have to? That is the dumbest excuse that I have heard. And it doesn't make a lot of business sense, does it? I mean, I'm not an entrepreneur or anything, but it just does not. I am not going to name a specific federal agency, but I have had to deal with a particular federal agency, which you would think that would have, not only that, they have a whole page devoted to accessibility issues. And it's basically a blatant lie, because then you look at their accessibility and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, if you're a blind or visually impaired person looking for a job, you need to call this number. Really? Another thing that many companies do is that they use Google Chrome and or Firefox for their websites and apps. And they do that because they claim it is safer. Well, I'm not sure about the safety issue, but many websites either have alternatives for accessibility, for better accessibility, or they have a way so that, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to use those two systems. Google Chrome and Firefox are completely inaccessible to blind and visually impaired people. So just so you know, I mean, Safari, Internet Explorer, or those things have a lot of security protocols put in place so that you can build a website and create an app that is accessible to everybody of any ability. An excuse that I hear from companies that create inaccessible websites and inaccessible apps is, well, can't you have a person who can see help you? No. I live by myself, for instance. Excuse me. And I'm not the only person who lives by herself. And yes, you have friends around, but when you do things online, especially things that are of a rather sensitive nature, don't you like to do them by yourself? So if you like to do them by yourself and you don't need assistance, why should I seek assistance? Why should I have sighted assistance? Why is my worth less than a sighted person's? So no. If you're trying to see, with one of those companies that uses Google Chrome, they're like, well, we're going to be using Google Chrome, and it's like, are you going to have? No, I don't have to have. I should be able to do anything online in a way that it is as independent as anyone else who does it online. Me and everybody else of every ability. So no, that is not a good excuse. So for whatever is worth, please, you need to start making your websites and apps accessible. It is the law, even if you don't think it applies to you. It is acceptable. It is the acceptable thing to do. And it is not hard. Many companies do a great job at making websites and apps accessible. Not only that, it is in their culture to have protocols set in place and to educate their employees as to how to build accessible websites and apps. Here's an example. Yesterday, I was at a friend's house for dinner, and one of her roommates works as a software engineer at a company here in Boston, and he knew a lot of what I was using with my iPhone and my Braille display. He knew about VoiceOver, he knew about corded commands on a Braille display, and I was very surprised that he knew all this, because he was asking me about Bluetooth technology and how important it is for connectivity, but Braille displays, how do they work with Bluetooth? And so, he knew a lot about adaptive technology, which is what it ends up being, adaptive technology. So, and he told me himself, at our company, we are made aware of these things. So if his company can do that, why can't yours? And so I really would love it if you would research adaptive technology. There are quite a few companies in the United States who can help you with adaptive technology, the different things that you can do. So Google it, do a little bit of homework, do a little bit of research, and familiarize yourself with the way blind and visually impaired people deal with things online and deal with the internet. And please familiarize yourself with the way anyone of any ability uses the internet. It's a right, just like civil rights or any other right, is the right of every person of every ability to be able to surf the net and do things on the internet independently. So this is just a little bit of my my feelings regarding the latest inaccessibility I've seen. It's becoming far more rampant than it should be. There is a company that I also deal with when doing when trying to get my albums out, CD Baby. And yes, I am mentioning cdbaby.com by name because one of their staff members has been gracious and kind enough to help me get my albums on the market. Because if I do it through the website itself, it is completely inaccessible. And I am going to have to use them again, because if I get through this whole period in my life, I intend on doing more CDs, at which point I hope to God that they have improved their accessibility. Thank you so much for hearing me, and I'll try to make videos more visually appealing. I know I say this all the time, but I just try to find ways and I can't find them. So I'm continuing. Thank you so much. God bless you, and just be aware that in every situation in life, as far as rights and responsibilities are concerned, all lives do matter. Blind lives matter as well. Thanks.